Conor Garland is shocking the NHL by having a very unexpected hot start to the season, sending Canucks fans into a frenzy. Plus, Patrik Allvin pulls off the heist of the century by making one of the best acquisitions of the 2024 offseason. And we're going to break it all down for you guys coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into all that, we got to say that we're on the road for 5,000 subscribers here on the channel. So if you're not subscribed already, you want to keep up to date on the latest NHL content, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, we got to jump right into it, Mark. I mean, we got the best signing of the 2024 offseason potentially. I mean, it's looking like it right now. And if you guys aren't sure what we're talking about Kevin Lankinen. Kevin Lankinen was signed this offseason by the Vancouver Canucks on, yes, an $875,000 one-year contract at 29 years old. And you know what he went out and did on that contract, Mark? He went out and he's 3-0-1 right now, losing one game in overtime with a 1.7 goals against average, a 9.41 save percentage. I mean, these stats are up there with top goalies in the NHL like Gustafsson and Connor Hellebuyck.
Yeah, the biggest thing when you're looking at this, the Canucks really made an awesome pickup. We're looking at this team that didn't have Thatcher Demko, and they won't have him for the next couple, maybe month, 2 months, 3 months. No one really knows the timeline on Thatcher Demko. They went into this offseason, they picked up a few guys, but before the season started, they picked up Kevin Lankinen. We're looking at this team that at one point had a guy like Shelovs, a guy like Yuri Patera as their two goalies going in. They pick up Lankinen. Lankinen has came in, looked outstanding. This is the guy that has a legitimate chance to really steal the crease from Shelovs and maybe even become the backup goaltender for a guy like Thatcher Demko. This was a guy that a lot of reporters said a lot of teams were looking at. The Canucks played hardball. They didn't want to sign him for more than they thought they could afford. So getting him in at under $900K and having him as one of the hottest goalies, I have him in fantasy, and he has been winning me weeks. Having this guy on such a cheap cap hit, having the Canucks having a rotation of three guys, once Demko comes back, a Vezina candidate, a guy last season in Demko, Shelovs, a guy like Lankinen, it looks like a more improved last season goaltending rotation where Casey DeSmith was in there and now Lankinen is looking lights out.
I mean, the situation couldn't be better in the crease for the Vancouver Canucks right now. Like you said, unfortunately, Demko's going to be out for 2-3 months, however long he's going to be out with that injury. And it was looking like at the beginning of the season when they lost the first 3 games that they were going to miss him a lot. But then Kevin Lankinen went between the pipes and has just been amazing for this team. Not just by putting up the numbers, but by making those game-saving stops, by being consistently good at saving the puck, putting his body in front of rubber. He's been so good this season for this Vancouver Canucks team. Yes, we could see it dip off a little bit, but right now he's the hot hand. He's red hot, and this Vancouver Canucks team is on a roll with 3 wins in a row, Mark.
And the biggest thing with Shelovs, I can give him his flowers. Last year in the playoffs, he was outstanding. He looked good through training camp, and he kind of struggled to start the year. Do I think Shelovs is a write-off? No, I do think he is the backup goaltender. But right now, riding the hot hand is what the Canucks need to continue to do, and we've seen Rick Tocchet really go into this. I mean, like I said, if a guy like Lankinen was not picked up, Yuri Patera would be the backup goaltender. I think between Shelovs and Patera, they have less than 30 games played in the NHL. Both are great goaltenders. I mean, we've seen Shelovs dominate at the national level with Latvia, but having an experienced guy, a guy that can come in cool, collected, like we've seen Lankinen do, is something that's severely underrated with what Allvin did by picking him up and having this extra insurance instead of having a guy like Yuri Patera or a guy like Tolopilo come up and have to play that backup role.
Yeah, and I don't think Shelovs is a complete write-off either. Obviously, he's had better games here in the NHL. I mean, what is he at? Like an 880 or an 890 save percentage at this point in time, but we know that he's better than that. He had a little bit of a rough start, but so did the entire team. They're looking at to be on a roll right now. It's on the back of Kevin Lankinen, but I do think that we will see Shelovs start to pick it up again, get a few more starts, ride this 2 tandem. But like you said, at this moment in time, Lankinen has the crease If he starts to dip off, that's when we'll see the two tandems start going here. But it's looking great going forward here for the Vancouver Canucks. And another reason for that, Mark, is Conor Garland. And Conor Garland is him right now. Obviously, a fan favorite for Vancouver Canucks fans. He's just had a tremendous start to this 24-25 campaign. And if you weren't sure what we're talking about Conor Garland having 6 points in 6 games to start the season. 3 goals, 3 assists, efficient scoring from Conor Garland. And if we just take a look at his stats from last season, he started out with 47 points. Actually, he's finished the season with 47 points. He didn't start out with 47 points. That would have been crazy. But now it's looking like he's improved a lot more in just this one offseason by being a point-per-game player. And if he can keep this up, Mark, to be on a pace where maybe he ends the season with 60 points, I can see that happening. I mean, he's been a 40-point player for most of his career, but I think he could easily reach that marker.
I mean, first looking at Conor Garland, the craziest thing is, as a Canucks fan, as any Canucks fan watching this, just almost 2 years ago, the Canucks fans wanted Garland out. They thought Garland was not a good fit. They thought the contract was not right. We're looking at this and say, oh no, there's 2 more years left. Now we're looking at it and saying, oh no, we only have him for 2 more years on this contract. Garland was a part of the best third line in the NHL last year. It was Dakota Joshua, Conor Garland, and whoever else you wanted on that line. Going into this season, we've seen Rick Tocchet move Garland within the lineup. Dakota Joshua is out right now with his injury. But Garland's a guy that any line he's put on, he brings energy. We've seen him moved up on a line where PD slumps a tiny bit. You put a guy like Garland, they get going. You put Garland on the top line, the third line, the fourth line, which you would never do because you want Conor Garland playing a lot. Conor Garland is a Swiss Army knife for this team. The way he's been playing, I think 60 points is in the realm for sure. I think this is the guy that could go out, score you 30 goals, and if not, he's going to try his hardest to reach that number. Conor Garland is the Energizer Bunny. He's a small guy that plays huge, and we haven't seen him hit his peak yet because once his best friend and Dakota Joshua gets back, this guy is going to explode, and these two together is going to make any line the hardest line to play against in the NHL.
And like you said, I mean, Conor Garland's an electric factor. I mean, he fires the boys up. He fires the fans up with his stick twirl celebration. I mean, fist pump, that was an amazing one for him. But this is a guy, like you said, who can play up and down the lineup, can be very efficient from wherever you put him on the ice. And you know, I remember an interview where he said he wants the coach to make him the guy who can get more minutes. And that is what has happened because he can play anywhere on this team, can dominate on this team, and has really helped the team a lot this season. I mean, he is tied first overall in points on the Vancouver Canucks right now, has helped them on this 3-game winning streak that they're on now to get to the 3rd in the Pacific, and this team is just rolling right now. They are a wagon, and if we just look at these lines, I mean, obviously we know Vancouver has a lot of talent here this season, with obviously adding Jake DeBrusk. That was a big pickup for them. He's had a little bit of a slow start to the season, but I'm sure he's going to pick it up. He's in a new home. Obviously, you got JT Miller, Brock Besser, and then you have Conor Garland on the second line, playing with Pettersson and Hoglander. And when you have a guy like Pettersson, who is such an elite playmaker, but can also, you know, crank those one-tees from time to time, and you pair him with a hot guy like Conor Garland, I mean, these two guys are just going to help each other out drastically this season.
I mean, we're talking about hot guys. I did see on one of the Sportsnet broadcasts, they said Nils Amon is the hottest guy in the Canucks. But looking at this team, there's so many new faces. You're looking at a guy like Kiefer Sherwood, Jake DeBrusk that you spoke about. There's new faces on this team. Even a guy like Danton Hyman, a BC boy, coming home to play with his team. It's going to be a rough stretch of them getting used to each other. The offense doesn't feel 100% yet. They don't have Dakota Joshua there. Once this team gets rolling, this team is going to continue to roll. We're without our starting goaltender. We're with our technical third string goaltender at the moment. This is a team that had to call up AHL guys to fill out the roster. Forbert was without the team when he went on his leave of absence. This team is not at 100% yet, and they're still making noise. They're still scaring teams. Yes, they blew a lead to the Calgary Flames in game one, but that is game one. They've turned things around. The team is going to start rolling. We're going to see the Canucks team that we seen last year in the regular season on an extra level with these new guys. Once a guy like Jake DeBrusk gets going, once a guy like Danton Hyman, we're seeing Kiefer Sherwood become a fan favorite. I think it was 30 hits in the run of 3 games. There's 30-something plus hits. This team is going to be electric. Conor Garland is a huge part of that. Canucks fans, get ready. I'm excited. You guys can be excited as well.
Yeah, it doesn't fire up the fans more when you have so many players that are playing so well, and this team just looks like they have a different edge this year, like they want to get to the cusp of the Stanley Cup final. They just, if you watched any Vancouver Canucks games this year, I mean those first 3 games, yes, there was some new players and stuff like that, but now on this 3-game winning streak, this team is hot. They are a train rolling down the tracks right now, and I wouldn't want to be on the opposite side of the ice of the Vancouver Canucks, but definitely excited to see where the Canucks finish this season, and I expect for them to have an amazing Stanley Cup run this year, hopefully with a healthy Thatcher Demko, fingers crossed. But we want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you think of the Canucks so far this season? Let us know down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this one, make sure down below, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be talking NHL here every day, so if that, interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and comment on the video. We love reading your guys' thoughts on everything we talk about here on the video, so make sure to go down and leave a comment here. And as always, I've been your host, KC, alongside my co-host, Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.